Hello ladies, welcome back to Music and Beauty TV. Today I'm going to do a tutorial on Senegalese twists this size on this beautiful client and friend of mine. We're going to be using Bounty Silk Effects and some Rasta-free braiding hair. Details for the products will be listed below. This is her in her natural, and I just wanted to jump right into the tutorial. This is the back of my client's hair, and I wanted to show you guys this because a lot of times girls will be getting braids or twists and their hair will be really short and kind of broken off in the back, and it makes it really difficult to work with. I tried to convince this client to shave it, but she disagreed, so I wanted to show you guys how I went about doing this style on her hair despite the fact that the back was broken off. So we're going to start by separating the hair. I did cut the braids in half, and I'm mixing the colors right now, so that's what you're seeing me do. Next, I'm going to show you guys how I stretch the hair. This is about the amount that I pulled out to get the size twists that you saw. You're just going to have to really feel for the proper amount, but hopefully the visual I give you is an example. But when you're stretching the hair, it's really important. This is one of the most important parts to doing Senegalese twists, because you have to really make sure that the ends are frayed and that the ends are very thinned out. That's super important to making sure that when you do the twists, they stay in. So I want to stress that. So yeah, I'm going to use the Bounty Silk Effects to lay down her hair, and we're just going to jump right in. Now I want to show you guys, like in the back, if someone's hair is really short, I usually braid the hair in first and then twist it down. You can twist it in first. It's not that you can't, it's just that very likely that twist is going to fall out. Braiding it in first allows you to grip that synthetic hair onto their natural hair a lot more tightly. So I highly recommend that when you're dealing with short pieces of hair. And I wanted to show you guys this up close to show how I transition from the braid to the twist. You've probably seen this on a ton of other videos. I just want to show you guys how I do it in case it helps. So I braid down a few times, and then I go in and I just separate that middle strand of hair into two, and I go in and I add more hair in. The reason why I started out with a smaller amount of hair is because I'm adding this synthetic hair to a small piece of her natural hair, and if I go in with a large chunk of braiding hair, then that's also going to cause the braid to slip out. Now later on in the style, you'll see that I don't do this, because you don't have to do this throughout the entire head, but definitely around those edges when you're dealing with smaller amounts of your client's hair. So once you go in and add that hair, then you're going to just twist it all to one direction. So for me, I'm making my twists. The individual strands of the twist are going to the right, but I'm going to pull the twist together to the left. And that's how you get a Senegalese twist. You make sure that each individual strand is being individually twisted in one direction and then wrapped around each other in the opposite direction, and that's how you get it to hold. I'm going to slow it down for you right now so that you can see that I am constantly twisting each individual strand to the right and then bringing them together to the left. You develop a motion for this, a muscle memory for this. It's really hard to do at first. If you're new to this, don't give up, because you will catch on and you'll get your own little groove to how you do it. But eventually you'll be able to move really fast. So once you get to the end, sometimes, especially when you start off as a braid and then switch to the twist, sometimes you'll see that one side of the twist has more hair than the other side. At that point, you just need to borrow hair. Try to wait till you get all the way to the end to borrow hair though, because if you move a little bit of hair over from one side to the other, too high up in the twist, you'll be able to notice it and it looks really ugly. So try to wait till you get as low as you can before you do that. And this is an example of me twisting all the way to the end. You want to twist all the way to the end. If you're maintaining a twist, don't leave any hair out at the bottom. That's another way that you can get that twist to unravel, okay? So I just want to show you a close-up on how that looks from start to finish. And this was an example of a twist where I braided the hair in first and twisted it all the way down. I'm going to go through, and I'm actually doing acorn parts, circular rounded out acorn parts throughout her head. So I just wanted to show you guys that. Another thing to keep in mind, rule of thumb, what I do with my clients is I tend to make all of the parts around the edges when I'm doing braids or twists. I make all of the parts around the edges smaller than the parts in the middle of the head. That's my rule of thumb, because I don't want the clients to have too much hair in their head because I'm making all of the parts small. And I also don't want to make all of the parts big, because usually twists and braids just look better when they're smaller parts. It looks more natural. I want to show you guys an example of what it's like for me to actually twist the hair in. So you're going to separate the client's hair into 2 strands, and then you're just going to push that hair in the middle of them and start twisting each individual strand one direction. For me, it's to the right, making sure that you grip that hair really tightly and you push it really close to the client's scalp when you are individually twisting each strand. Like, you don't want to lose your tight grip on this part. Very, very important, because yes, you want the hair to look like it's growing out of the scalp. You want it to look natural, but you want it to be as tight as possible when they leave your chair so that they have room for growth. And that's how I do it. And like I said, you're going to get better at this as you practice. Just continue to try over and over again, because it was really hard for me to catch on to it at first. Catching on not just to the motion and the direction, but also the tightness and the grip. It's incredibly important that you maintain a firm grip throughout every single part of this twist, because that's how you're going to maintain that neatness. I see so many times when girls do twists and it just looks so loose and so raggedy, and I think it has a lot to do with how much attention and detail they're giving to that twist from start to finish. I want to show you an example of when you finish the twist off with a braid. Some people prefer this method, and it's actually foolproof in my opinion. It's a very safe way to end your twist, especially if you wait all the way to the end, to that really, really skinny part of the twist. You can just braid that out at the end. A 3-strand braid tends to hold stronger, tighter than a 2-strand twist. So if you don't want to worry about those twists possibly unraveling, then you can do this method, as long as you wait until the tail end of the braid when you're not going to be able to notice visibly. So I'm just moving through her head, like I said, in rounded out acorn parts. No real pattern. I don't really want it to look boxed out like box braids. I want it to just flow. This is the middle of her head. Like I said, I do the parts quite large in the middle, but don't worry, because they're all going to be covered up. I don't want to put too much hair in this client's head. I think we used about 7 packs for this entire style, and I really didn't want to use 8 or 9 because it tends to get heavy. So when I get to the sides, the edges, and the front, I do the parts smaller. And in the end, you're going to be able to see the gradual change in sizes. You want to make sure that the size change is gradual and it doesn't just go from really huge to really small. Now I want to show you guys that sometimes it gets rough in these streets. Sometimes I really have to stand on a chair to get my positioning right so that I can be above the client, because when you're braiding hair in, it's different than when you're twisting hair in. By me twisting this hair into her head, I have to have a certain position. I have to be on top of her. So don't be too proud to grab a chair and get on top of that client's head if that's what you need to do. Positioning is everything, and I want to make sure that each individual twist is as tightly gripped to her hair as possible. And this is what it looks like when I just have that little top portion left. I was so happy to almost be finished, y'all. But like I said, the gradual change in size, that's just what I wanted to show you guys right there. And when you get to the front, you may have to ask your client to hold that braid or that twist close to their scalp so that you're not pulling too tightly. And this is what it looks like in the end. Like I said, the parts in the front, I did them quite small. And this is the size that everyone's going to assume her braids are, unless they're digging all throughout her head, which is not going to happen. So now I want to show you guys going through. Now this part sucks. You think you're done and you have to go through with each individual twist and trim off the hair. Because I cut the braid in half and stretched it, there was a lot of frizzies, a lot of flyaways sticking out of each twist, and that's so ugly. Yes, when you dip the hair you get rid of some of that, but I like to go in and do almost each individual twist and just trim that because it's gonna make a big difference in the end. I went ahead and wrapped the bottom of her hair with perm rods because she really wanted them curled at the ends. Now typically I don't do that. Most women whose twists I do, whose Senegalese twists I do, they don't want it to be curled at the ends, but because this is what she wanted, I wanted to show you guys. You definitely want to dip the hair, whether you're keeping it straight or you're curling it. Make sure that the water is boiling hot and you have a towel on hand, and that you dip that hair, you let it sit inside the water for a few seconds, pull it out, all that good stuff. If you guys want a separate video specifically on how to dip hair, thumbs this video up and let me know in the comments below. And this is the finished product. Let me know if you have any questions about how to install Senegalese twists below. Let me know if you want me to do another video with maybe a different size or a different hair type. Whatever you gotta say, just let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for liking this video, for sharing it on your social media, and for subscribing to my channel. God bless you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.